Build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live. A place where saints and children tell how hearts learn to forgive. Built of hopes and dreams and visions, rock of faith and vault of grace. Here the love of Christ shall end divisions. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where prophets speak and words are strong and true, where all God's children dare to seek to dream God's reign anew. Here the cross shall stand as witness and a symbol of God's grace. Here as one we claim the faith of Jesus. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where love is found in water, wine, and wheat. A banquet hall on holy ground where peace and justice meet. Here the love of God through Jesus is revealed in time and space. As we share in Christ the feast that frees us, all are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place.
Thank you, Charlie. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Voice of the Faithful, New Jersey. We are an intentional Eucharistic community serving Northern New Jersey and more recently, the wider Zoom community. We come together for the Eucharist every first and third Sunday at 4:30 p.m. On other Sundays, such as today, we often gather to listen to and learn from others who are extraordinary examples of Christian life. We have heard from prophets of our time, from theologians, activists, journalists, lawyers, and professors. All are welcome to our liturgies and our programs. We are just completing a year of programs about the plight of migrants, refugees, and immigrants. For years, we have been reading about, hearing about, and watching tragic stories about men, women, and children across the world who have been uprooted from their homes and homelands by violence, wars, persecution, and hunger, or because of the color of their skin. We know that our southern border with Mexico, hundreds of thousands of people have been desperately seeking entry into our country. What can we do as Christians? This afternoon, we have with us a person who shows us the face of mercy, who is doing the hard work of helping our neighbors and serving those in greatest need. Sister Norma Pimentel is a Mexican-American member of the Missionaries of Jesus. She was born to Mexican parents seeking U.S. citizenship in Brownsville, Texas, and grew up on both sides of the border. She has 2 master's degrees, one in theology and one in counseling. She began working with refugees in 1980 and became executive director of Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley in 2004. Since then, she and her associates have provided food, temporary shelter, and emergency relief to more than 500,000 people who have found their way from many countries to the U.S. southern border as they try to enter the United States. Sister Norma's dedication to serving refugees and migrants has been widely recognized. Among many other awards, she has received the Outstanding Leadership Award from the Leadership Conference of Women Religious and the Laetare Medal from the University of Notre Dame. She was named one of 100 most influential people of 2020 by Time magazine. In what free time she has, Sister Norma is a painter. When she met with Pope Francis in New York City in 2015, she presented him with one of her paintings, which depicted an immigrant mother and child. Sister Norma, we are honored to welcome you to Voice of the Faithful. At the conclusion of your remarks, Sister Norma will answer any questions you have. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you. I am grateful that you would like to hear what is happening at the border with South Texas, with Mexico, where I receive hundreds or sometimes thousands of immigrants throughout the year. And it is so important for me that others understand and can see what I see, because it is only this way that we're able to understand and be able to respond the way God is calling us to respond, and to care for other human beings that may be suffering and hurting. And it is our call to be present to those who God puts in our way, so that we can help and we can reflect his presence in that encounter. And so thank you for the invitation. And I would like to start by sharing with you how it all started. How did we come to help immigrants here at the border? And so, one of the things that is very defining about who we are here at the border is that the community here in South Texas that is border with Mexico, and we kind of sort of are in the connecting two countries, the United States with Mexico, and we are in the United States, and so, but many of the people here in this area are immigrants. I mean, even in the United States, all of us are immigrants because we all came from somewhere. So our families came from somewhere. And so that is something so beautiful about what makes up United States, and the people that bring and contribute to the wealth of knowledge and life in the United States, is because we're so diverse and so coming from so many countries, and we're all welcome. The song that you just played really represents who we are, not only as people of faith, but also people in this country, this beautiful United States. And so we're all welcome. And because if we come and contribute to the fabric of who we are as Americans, we make this country better. And so when the people here in the Rio Grande Valley, as we know it as the Valley, is people with a great heart, as our bishop describes who we are here in the Rio Grande Valley, is people who care, people who will go out of their way to help you. And it has a lot to do with the fact that who we are as people and our culture, and the fact that we understand human suffering. We understand that sometimes it's not easy to make it in life without the help of somebody offering to help. And so I think that is so part of who we are, that when we see somebody hurting, we want to make sure we're there and we can offer something to help. I know when I can really, share the fact that the kind of people we are here in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas is the fact that we are, someone gets sick with a cold or with the flu, everybody kind of reaches out. I know whenever I get sick, I have so many people bringing me soup and bringing me vegetables or something to make me feel better, or some kind of remedy that their mom prepared for them when they were ill. And so this kind of persons is who we are here in the Rio Grande Valley. And so when we start seeing people coming from Central America and into our communities that Border Patrol had processed and had determined that they're not a threat to the United States, that they are families, children that were looking for an opportunity to ask for asylum, protection, and safety, because back home where they're coming from, they were not safe, and so they thought, we need to go north. We need to go where I know our children can grow up and be safe and go to school. And if as when I started to get involved and help the many families that were arriving here, and that Border Patrol was released into our community, giving them permission to continue their legal proceedings somewhere else in the United States, wherever they're going, they were being dropped off at the bus station, local bus station here downtown in our cities. And so people here, the community started to see that. And it was very heartbreaking to see that, because it was families, mothers that were holding a baby, an infant child, and they were children crying, they were hungry, they were dirty and muddy and dehydrating. They were the conditions that they were being dropped off by Border Patrol after being apprehended and processed, after they crossed into United States through the river. You know, Border Patrol didn't have the adequate space to keep them in detention. And so they released them. They released those families that qualified to go through this process of asylum. And we were seeing them at the bus station. And we the families, our local families, start to see them. And I start getting calls and say, sister, there's a lot of families at the bus station and they're hurting and they need help. And please help us know what to do. We have no idea what to do, and we want to help them. And so I did just that. I went ahead and I got on my car and I started driving to the bus station, and I was thinking to myself, think, Norma, what do you need to do? And it's not like I had a chance to plan a meeting, I know, a board meeting or something where I can determine whether we have funds to be able to respond, or exactly what was okay to do or not do. And I simply just went to the bus station, and as I was going there, I thought, we definitely need a space, a place where we can take them from the bus station to a location where they could be able to get cleaned up, where we can feed them, and we can help them call their families. And so that's what exactly I decided to do. And I called Father Tom, who was at Sacred Heart. It was a parish that was just a block away from the bus station. It was perfect. And so I called Father Tom and I said, Father Tom, can I borrow your parish hall for a couple of days? I had no clue that what I was about to witness and see at the bus station, of this group of almost 200 people, children of all ages, mostly babies and infants, and parents, with them. And uh, I thought it was in a couple of days, we'll fix this and we'll send them off, and that's, we've done our job. We've cared for these individual fat people that were here hurting, and we carry on in our regular routine of what things that we do. But it turned out that they continue to come, every single day, sometimes more than 200. And it was amazing the response of the local people here in the community, when they started to see that we were open the parish hall of Sacred Heart, and people were just go ahead and text your friend, or ask them for, even through social media, ask them for Pampers and milk, and we need food and we need clothing and this and that. And before you know it, after the even first day, second day, we had mountains of stuff that was being brought up to the doors of the parish hall. To the point that it was overwhelming. It was so much of it that we said we need to find another space to put this in warehouses, because it was amazing, the response of our community stepping up and saying, how can I help you? What can I do? I want to be able to help these families that are hurting. And so we had the local city officials come as well and say, so what are you doing here, Sister Norma? One of the very first days that we started, the whole parish hall was packed with people that we were bringing from the bus station, and we were cleaning them up as best we could, because in the parish hall, all you have is a restroom and a sink, and that's about it. So we got wipes, and as best as they could clean themselves up, and we got clothing that people were sending that they had in their closets that could share with these families. And this person from the city asked me, what are you doing here? And I said, I looked at how amazing work, people helping people, feeding them, clothing them. It was such a beautiful witnessing moment that I turned back and then looked at this man. I said, restoring human dignity. That's what we're doing. I think he didn't expect my response. He wasn't prepared for it, because he took a step back, and then he came back and said, Sister, if I had a magic wand, what would that magic wand do for you? And I said, showers? Would it be possible that I can ask for showers? Because these families are so dirty. I mean, mud was already dried in on their clothing, their skins was gray, and they needed to really wash up and get cleaned up. Nothing like a running fresh, clean water through their bodies that were so hurting and dirty, and truly needed the amazing what water does to us, and really refreshes. And sure enough, that evening, we got a mobile unit of 8 showers. It was so amazing to see the women, the mothers walk into that shower and come out just glowing. It was so beautiful to see them transformed. And it was an amazing witness of what water does to us, to cleanse us and to give us life and to give us dignity. And so since that first day to today, we continue to have those doors open. Not we moved away from the parish hall. We gave the parish hall back to the pastor, and moved on to another location, thinking we didn't need such a big space anymore. And then before you know it, numbers back in 2019 started just to go skyrocketed up. We almost had 1,000 people a day welcoming them into, and we just didn't have the space. And so the city said, we need to look for another place, Sister Norma, and we start hunting and looking and checking out empty schools that were not being operated, or whatever space was available downtown. And we found this amazing big place right across from the bus station. It used to be a nightclub, and so it was huge, and so how about this one? Well, it's a perfect location, and we have to just walk them across, and when they have their ticket, they purchase it from their families by buying it from them. They're already cleaned up, then eaten, and they saw a doctor if they needed to, and they've already are ready to go, and we just accompany them to the bus station. And so this is how we were able to move to a new location that we now were able to clean up and paint and make it so comfortable and nice for the families and the children to play and run around. And this is what has happened from that first day that I called Father Tom and says, can I borrow your parish hall for a couple of days? And now, after 10 years, actually, this year is the 10th year that we started that day, in June of 2014. And today we're still doing this, with the help of so many people that touch their hearts and want to be able to say, what can I do to help, And we continue to be there. And numbers today are very low. They're not that high. A lot has to do with the new policies in place, with all this rhetoric about the politics claiming that immigrants are bad and they're hurting our country, and they're criminals, and so our administration is very engaged in wanting to send back to their countries everybody that enters the United States, and that's what presently is happening. I mean, it's the majority of the people that try to enter the United States are looking for protection, looking for safety, afraid for their lives, are put in another plane and sent back home, and so they're devastated, all their efforts to go through so many countries and in search of some place where they can be safe. It all ends and their dreams just are shattered, and they're sent back. And so some people do manage to remain in the United States. I think it has a lot to do with those countries that are uh, not in good terms with the United States, and the United States cannot send people back. So like Venezuela, for example, or Nicaragua, Cuba, things, places like that. And so, but for the most part, unless they can really show in the moment of apprehension, the moment of being processed, that they're very fearful for their lives, they might have a chance to remain and to go through that process. And so uh, these people, the kind of things they encounter along the way when they come, are very sad. They're very difficult because they're very vulnerable, and so they're always worried of somebody taking advantage of them, exploiting them, kidnapping them, putting them in stash places where then their family members are called and asked, if you don't send us $3, $4, $5,000, we're gonna kill your father, your mother, whoever it is that is here with us, and they're very abusive. They hurt them tremendously. The stories that I hear most recently is people that want to come to United States, and there's a new process that this administration started, which is use an application on the phone where they ask for an appointment, and if they're granted the appointment, they can come to the port of entry through the bridge, and they're interviewed for 2 or 3 hours, and then they qualify. They're given permission to proceed to do their asylum claim, and with permission in the United States. And these people are coming already with their appointment, and the bad people that are in Mexico, that are part of possibly the cartel, they are always trying to figure out a way to exploit and to get money out of whatever is happening. And so they kidnap them. They find that they're coming in a bus, and they're hoping to meet their appointment date and time, and they don't make it. They get kidnapped, and if they're able to be released because their family was able to pay whatever these kidnappers, these traffickers are able to demand on them, they come to our center after them being processed and enter the United States, and we're able to work with the local authorities at the port of entry, letting them know that they were kidnapped, they missed their appointment, and they have a proof that they had an appointment. The officers at the port of entry will go ahead and honor that, and give them permission to enter and be processed. And they end up coming to our center, and we hear their stories of how they were kidnapped, how when they were kidnapped, they call their families, and with a bat, they beat them up while they're talking. And so their families will hear them screaming and crying. And so, and then they rape them, both the men and the women. And it's so horrible, the stories that we hear of what they have to face in order to try to come to a country like the United States where they feel they will be safe, and so I don't know if they understand the risk that they're going to be taking when they leave their country, but they do go face horrible encounters of abuse and mistreatment by very bad people all along their journeys, and so when they entered to our center, it's a beautiful space that is very clean, and the very first thing they see when they come to our center is an image, a very humongous, big image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that we have on the wall right as you enter. And as soon as they see this image of Our Lady, they fall to their knees, most of them, and they cry of joy, of thanksgiving, and thanking God and thanking Our Lady for protecting them, and to finally make it to a place where they see they're welcome, where they're treated with the respect that a person deserves, and they're grateful, and they're grateful that they're safe, and they're grateful that they're in a space that their children can now be children. They can run around and play and be a kid, and the parents can just fall asleep, and because they've been tired, they've never been able to just rest, afraid that at any moment anyone could just grab and take their child. And so for the very first time in the United States, they're in a space that they're safe, and people greet them with a smile, with a welcome, and it just transformed their lives. And you see the change from the moment they just arrive to the time when they are ready to move on, and they've already got their tickets. They talk to their families or persons here in the United States who's going to help them, and they now can travel to those destinations safe and not fearing that something is going to happen to them. And so it's so beautiful to see that transformation, and for us to be able to be part of that. It's something like what our Holy Father always invites us to do, is to reach out to those that are hurting, those that are in the peripheries, those that are invisible to many, and to offer them a way to restore their dignity, an opportunity to recognize that their life matters, because ultimately we are all created in the image and likeness of God, which means that we all share the same human dignity given to us by God. It's a blessing, it's a grace that we receive, and by welcoming them, we're actually sharing that love of God is within us to those that are arriving, and it's a beautiful encounter because we also experience God's presence in them. And so it's an opportunity to be able to have this common human family that we are, and it is something that I'm blessed that I am able to do, and invite anyone and everyone that wants to participate, that wants to be part of this, be able to share themselves and be able to do whatever it is they can do. I sometimes go to Mexico, cross the river, to help families in the other side that are in shelters, because back in just across the United States, in the port, by the bridge, there's shelters in the Mexican side, and run by sometimes with pastors, and I go ahead and offer, see how I can help. And if I have stuff that I can take to the children, I take to the children, and I help them with funds to be able to buy water and to buy things that they need, and because they over there they may be having shelters with a lot of people. And I remember once I was crossing, I had these two big bags with me, and I crossed walking because I don't want to take my car across, and for safety reasons, and so I just leave my car in the US side and walk the bridge. And on the other side, I have somebody from the shelter, the pastor himself, come and pick me up. And so as I was crossing the bridge one day, I remember how this older lady was also crossing, and she recognized who I was, because I do come out a lot in the TV, they interview me a lot, anything that's happening, and especially now that how immigration and immigrants is such a hot topic, the media is always after me. And so this lady says, "Sister," or they call me madre. In Mexico, people call me madre, madrecita, mother, and so me permite, would you allow me to please carry the bags, And I said, "No, that's all right. I'm okay. I can handle this." And she said, "No, I want to be able to put in my 2 grains of sand for the amazing work that you do. At least it's a list I could do, And I said, "Okay, here are the bags. I'll let you have one and I'll take the other." And so for me, that was it touched me because it is how we must all join, how much we must be part of God's mission to love others, to care for humanity that's broken, that's hurting, that is suffering, and this is who the immigrants are. Honestly, in the 10 years that I've been doing this, I have seen only good people who have great faith because they've been stripped of everything else, not their faith. If you're asking, wow, why did you come? Why did you go through all that you've been through? And they'll say, always, because I know God is with me, And so it's amazing how what they go through, but it's also amazing the beautiful work that people here in the United States are doing to bring out their faith, to show that what God calls us to be is people that can reflect his love always. From the moment we wake up, from the moment we start our days, is how can we love those that God puts in our lives, our families, our children, you know, people in our community, people who definitely need somebody to listen and to care for them. And so I think that immigrants are an opportunity for us to be able to share this amazing presence of God that is with us. And so we must be those hands and those feet for in our communities, in our world, to show the kindness and the gentleness and the care that our world needs today. Our communities are in great, desperate need of. This is the only way we're going to be able to conquer the evil and the ugliness that is trying to destroy us. We must put the best of us always. It is not with anger, it is not with division, it's not with any other way but other than understanding and care for one another, so that we can be able to listen to one another, understand what are the solutions, what are the ways that we can make sure that we can be a better caring community and a people of faith that believe that the presence of the Eucharist that we receive in Jesus himself I was just in mass today, and as I was reflecting, in the words of that I was hearing, how Jesus offered himself to die for us. The most amazing act of love, without knowing us, without even knowing if we were going to respect or understand or be worthy of what an act of love that he was doing for us. He gave himself to us. I think that when we receive the Eucharist, it is a way of allowing ourselves to be immersed in that love that he had for us and he has for us, so that we can then turn around and love others. And so I think that this is what we are called to do, and that we have every moment and every day to be able to live out to the amazing love that Jesus has for us. And we can do that with the immigrants. Thank you. So if you like, you can ask me any questions right now.
How
Leo.
long do they stay with you at your
Yes.
center? And then where do they go when they leave?
Yes. So people, really, it's not a shelter, it's a respite center, because we try to help them with the most immediate needs they have. They need to eat, they need to rest, and quickly call their families, need to get cleaned up, and if they're hurting physically from any injuries, we can be able to provide them with medical care. But they go within a day, 2 days, maybe 3 days if necessary. But for the most part, within 24 hours, everybody goes. And goes where they go is they go somewhere in the United States. They have somebody that they're going to meet with. Usually it's a family member, somebody who was here from a while back, and they're already here in the United States, and they are offering them, and they're purchasing their bus ticket or their plane ticket, and they are going to that part of the United States where they are. And that's their hopes, to go there. And so everybody goes somewhere.
Okay. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Yes.
Sister, could you share a story of what a typical journey is like to come to the United States from Mexico?
Yes, well, most people come not from Mexico, but they go through Mexico. You know, they are they they're traveling. Most of them, when we started to receive families, were coming from Central America, from Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and it was in those when they left those countries, they what they do is most of them are indigenous families, people who live out. In some cases, a lot of them live in the outskirts of the city. They sell their little land, and with that they're able to purchase be able to pay for somebody to help them come and travel to United States, and that could be a couple of $1,000s, and so a family will try to do that. And the only reason why they do that is because they no longer are able to work in their country. They're exploited, and they have a hard time keeping the family safe. And so they're afraid for their lives. And more than their lives, they're afraid for their children's lives. They know that their children can easily be taken. They've seen that happen with other families, and they get scared, and they decide, let's just go. And if they cannot all come, then maybe at least the father will come with some of the children. And but if they can all come together, they try to all come together. But what keeps them from all coming sometimes is that they don't have the money to have somebody help them travel through the different countries and come to the border of the United States. So while they're traveling, sometimes the person who they pay will abandon them somewhere along the way. And then they have to figure out how to continue on their own, Or sometimes when they're arriving, going through some parts of Mexico, which they find is the most difficult and most dangerous places sometimes to cross through. And it's because there's a lot of people like gangs or cartels that will identify them and immediately take them and put them in stash houses or in stash warehouses, and so there they are unable to continue unless they contact their families to see if they can send them some money so they can be released, and so. I don't know if everybody makes it from there, but those that do are the ones that we hear those stories that they were taken and they were able to escape, or they were able to pay because their families call be friends or whoever to try to collect as much money as they can so they can give to the kidnappers and be able to have a chance so they can be released. And so those are the families we end up seeing, the ones that are released because some family member was able to ask for people to borrow money, and they were able to pay whatever they were asking. And so they come and they find themselves at the Mexican side of the border, and they have a choice. The cross through the river was the only choice they had before, but now this administration opened the possibility of an appointment through that they can get. But when they had to come through the river, they had to pay the traffickers or the gangs that are in the river, and say, if you want to cross the river, before you cross the river into the United States, you have to pay us, and whatever amount of money they want to ask for them, they'll have to do it in order to try to cross into the United States through the river. And even the river is very dangerous. Many of the families the river is very they don't know if they're going to be able to swim across, because sometimes they get caught up in the currents of the river, And we've seen where a dad is drowned with trying to save their little baby, and many of those experiences we saw happening when people were crossing through the river. So it's a dangerous step to take, but many of them risk doing it because their hopes are that if they do make it in the United States, the agents of the Border Patrol will then take them, and they don't mind because they figured I want them to be processed so that they give me permission to be in the United States. So they're not crossing and running away. They're actually crossing and turning themselves over to agents of Border Patrol so that they can be able to go through the legal process in determining whether they have a right to be in this country or not. And so that's what I see happening when the struggles that their families go through, and sometimes some have it harder than others, and so, but it's not an easy journey. It's a very difficult journey.
Thank you.
Well, sister, um, the people that come to you have already been allowed in, is that it? And
That's
then
correct.
they have money
Yes.
to buy, they have a ticket. But with all these people robbing them, and they're having to swim the rivers and so, where do they get the money to buy the
Yes.
ticket? Do you
Yes.
reinforce? I mean, do you support them in that way, buying the tickets and so forth?
Yes, listen, they don't have any money. They rob them and they end up with no money when they get to with us. But we give them an opportunity to call their family or their friends or somebody in the United States that knows them where they're going, so that that family or that friend can help them pay for their ticket. We do not pay for tickets because if we do, then everybody's going to expect me to pay for them. And so I say, I'll give you everything you need to make sure you're okay. But that's the only one thing I cannot give you is a ticket to get in the bus or in a plane. You have to try to find that money and have them purchase that for you. And it works. For the most part, all of them get their monies. If one in 1,000 does not, and the staff that I have says, sister, this family, they've been here for already a week. They have tried and tried. Nobody's helping them. And I said, okay, let's see if we can find somebody to help them, And I will ask somebody. I know a lot of people, even the bishop. One time I told Bishop, he went to visit this family from Peru. They don't have any money, Bishop. And so I'm going to give you the opportunity for you to have a Christmas gift for them, And so it's going to cost you $250, And so, yes, sister, I will go ahead and give you the $250. So I will do that once in a while. But, for the most part, I want the families to make that little effort and get those last couple of dollars they need to make that final expense, and they managed to do that for the most part.
Sister, are you seeing many unaccompanied minors? Are you taking care of that population
No,
as
no, unaccompanied minors is handled differently in the United States because unaccompanied minors in most cases came with somebody. They did not come unaccompanied. They came either with an older sibling or an uncle or an aunt or a neighbor or somebody they know. And then the Border Patrol, the United States separates them because for protection of trafficking a child and not knowing whether that person is the legal guardian or not, they separate the child and they classify that child as an unaccompanied child. And so that child then enters a process differently than anybody else. They are hand over to the Department of Refugee and Resettlement, OR, Office of Refugee and Resettlement. And they're supposed to identify and go and determine who is the immediate sponsor or family member of this child. They try to reach their family, whatever means they have, either to the consulates of that country or if that child has a phone number. And so they're not released to the community or to anyone else other than this department of the government, and that department of the government places them in detention spaces where they handle the children alone, And so, and most of them, if they don't find that family member, that child will then be turned over to foster care. Okay.
Sister, the things that you have shared, we have it in seeing and encountered at the Mexico border. My community and I go to the border wall and we try to be a spiritual presence. And I think sometimes I'm more transformed by the migrants' faith
Mhm.
than they are by mine. And as we minister, we'll share food and water and backpacks. And we also go to the Catholic Charity Shelter. And we find that the people most of the time do have sponsors where they're traveling to, but there are moments when they go bounced from different shelters at a parish or other location until they can try to find a sponsor. Are you aware of any places, like maybe further into our country, not so much along the border, where organizations or different parishes would have availability, people who would welcome the migrants and would sponsor them and help them to get jobs and get acclimated and become part of our community and build up our country?
Yes, yes, you're right. And there are sometimes those that are not, nobody responds and they don't have a sponsor. And so I have been able to contact parishes that come visit us and volunteer for at any given time. And I keep their contact information. And so and they open themselves up. They say, sister, if you ever have a family that doesn't have where to go, send them to us and we will help. And that whole community then takes care of this family. And until that family is able to then work and find their own housing and being able to get settled in, and become part of that community on their own, and they become self-sustainable. And then they open their doors to get another family, and so there are very few of these communities, parish communities, that do this. And when I'm able to send somebody, I always do that. But it doesn't happen a lot, but it would be nice if more communities and parishes open themselves up to take a family and put them somewhere where the whole congregation those that want to help can help this family. And it's beautiful how they get integrated into the community and they follow up with them, how they become part of that community. So yes, it's beautiful to do that. And my hopes are that if more communities did that, we would have less people in the streets of most of the cities that we see in the larger cities where immigrants are forced to go to those cities, and they're lost on their own, homeless. And so yes, unfortunate, not many families, not many communities are opening up to do this, but it would be nice.
Sister, I just want to clarify, when they come to the border and they give themselves in to the authorities, at that point, do they get an appointment to plead their case as asylum seekers before they are sent, to other parts of the country? Because they wouldn't be allowed without an appointment. They show their credentials, right?
You're right. They get a notice to appear. That means that once they arrive to their whatever city they said they were traveling to because they had somebody there, at that point they're supposed to have a notice to appear. Okay, but what has happened is that something that happened in Texas is that our governor decided that he wanted to just send people that were entering the United States
Right.
and putting them in a bus and taking them to New York, to Denver, Chicago, Los Angeles, wherever he wanted, and just dump them there and promise them that those cities were going to be able to provide for them everything. And ultimately, those families, and many of those families, were not even going there. We're not thinking of going to New York or Denver or those cities, but and end up being a burden to those communities. And so a lot of chaos has happened because of that. Instead of helping them get to their destinations where they had families, where they're looking toward going, they ended up going to these other cities with the expectations that those cities were going to give them jobs, housing, and everything they needed. And so it was a false way of misleading people and creating chaos in our country. And so that's why we start seeing hundreds and hundreds of people in cities like New York and Washington, D.C. and other places like this. It was created intentionally to create chaos and to create a problem in the United States that people would be afraid of so many immigrants that are here. And so instead of continuing a process that was already sort of established of families arriving, getting an address, helping them get to that destination, they ended up just immediately as soon as the Border Patrol released them, the state of Texas picked them up in a bus and just shipped them to these other locations. And we know the outcome of that. We start seeing the overwhelming number of immigrants in those cities, you know. And so New York, for one, you know, the mayor of New York actually asked me to go visit and to help, just so that I can become aware of how they are responding to that reality and what the governor of Texas did. And they actually decided to take action and work and resolving and triaging how to respond to this many number of immigrants that are being dropped off in their city. And they're actually triaging and determining, are you interested in staying in New York? And many of them say, no, I was planning to go to this other location in the United States where I have a family. Okay, I'm going to get you a ticket and you can go there, you know? And so they're turning around and becoming proactive of the response that New York is doing to try to see if they can help alleviate the overwhelming number of immigrants in that city, you know? And so they're doing their part, and it's not easy because there thousands and thousands of them are being dropped off there, as they are in other cities as well. But this was before what is occurring today at the border with the new executive order of the president, you know, where he has stated that anyone entering the United States by the river will be sent back home, you know, back to their country. They will be deported. And that is what presently is going on right now. And so the number of people actually remaining in the United States, when somebody enters the United States and is turned over to the authorities, they will then pretty much will send them back to their country. They're not given a chance to ask for asylum. You know, they immediately put them in a plane and send them back home. So right now, there's a big shift is what's going on in our country at the border, and that is that people are being what they call expedited removed from this country.
And when they are removed, Sister, are they sent back to their own homes?
Well, they don't know if they have homes anymore because all their homes, all that property, all that land was how they managed to get money to be able to get themselves here, you know. And so for the most part, they run a great danger in going back to their country without any place to go, you know.
Well, sister, we learned from the triage person in New York. You know, we had a speaker and an immigration lawyer, and the triage person said they would fill out the application with the people that arrived in New York, but so many didn't qualify. You know, it's very hard to qualify, and that, like, they gave us an idea, like a certain amount out of 10 would be sent back. You know, it's very hard to qualify. They make it sound like everybody can get in, and they can't, you know?
They cannot. That's true. You know, the process for asylum is very difficult. You know, it's very hard to qualify for asylum because it responds to a reality when it was created years ago, and it doesn't apply to the reality of fear for their lives of today, you know. And so there are 5 categories that identifies whether you have one of those reasons why you fear for your life, and then that would qualify you to go through the process of asking for asylum. And for the most part, you know, the fear that these people are fleeing from, a lot of times it's a fear from gangs, you know. And that's not one of, because the gangs are a threat to their lives. You know, they're persecuting them, they're destroying the families, and they're kidnapping their kids, and they're killing them in their own homes. And so they fear for their lives. And so, but a gang is not an option in the asylum process, and so they don't qualify for asylum, And so like them, many of them come and because they cannot work in their country because the gangs and all of them exploit them, and they don't give them a chance to be able to work in their country, or if they work, they rob them and take out whatever they make. And so they come as far as the United States sees that as for economical reasons, but the reasons why it's economical is because they want to work. They want to be able to sustain their families and work and take care for them. But that's not a reason for asylum. And so they don't qualify, So in order to qualify for asylum, you also have to prove, and when they leave their country, flee, they don't wait and try to get newspaper clippings or letters or prove that why you are afraid for your life, And so you don't have all of that, you're not going to qualify for asylum, And so it's so difficult to qualify. You also have to have an attorney, and it's very expensive to do that. And people from the triage in New York, they don't represent them. All they do is fill out their paperwork, which is amazing what New York is doing. They're filling up the asylum application for free. But then the next steps to be able to go before the judge, and you need an attorney to do that. And New York is not doing that. They simply are filling out the application, which is a wonderful first step, from there, they need to follow up and work and be able to provide an attorney's fees, so that the attorney, because it's a long process that they need to follow. And if they don't have those funds or even the chance to work, the United States allows them to come into the United States, but they don't give them permission to work. And if you
Right.
don't have permission to work, you cannot pay an attorney or even pay a place where you can live. So it's all sort of very difficult for them,
Sister, here in San Diego, we have Casa Cornelia Law Center, which is a pro bono organization that works literally with thousands of people. And we really need a Casa Cornelia in every city along the border, but
We
that's,
do, yes.
that's
And
not
in other
possible.
cities as well, like New York and everywhere else where we have many immigrants being sent to. And so, yes, a response like that is ideal for families that are needing assistance because they can't do it on their own. And there's not enough pro bono places or individuals that can actually assist them. And so unfortunately, all those people are going to be sent back to their country. They will, if they go to that notice to appear and they don't have a strong case, they will be sent back. But if they really did have an attorney, somebody representing them, somebody helping them, they stand a better chance of proving that they fear for their life.
So how can we best help? We live in many, probably different cities across the country. I'm not sure.
Well, you can, I mean, one of the things that is very important for them to stay and have a chance is to be able to have that legal representation
Oh.
that could be able to take one case at least, or as many cases as you can, and get people that are qualified attorneys that can be able, you can help pay for, that will take cases of those special families that you think merit the opportunity to be able to go before a judge and fight their case and have a chance to remain in this country safe. And you can find attorneys that can spend some of pro bono time, maybe one case or whatever, and it takes work to invite them to be part of possibly helping somebody, and the more we can help, the better,
I think it's a great idea to ask every bishop if they would help support a family.
Yes, I think so. We give them a chance to also share and helping at least one person, one family, maybe we can start with one, and before you know, we have more people helping, and everybody will be able to be helped.
When they receive an appointment, do they have to return to the point of entry, or do they go to a
No.
local judge?
They go to that place where they have the appointment, where they ask that they would be, and so they'll be processed there. They'll be told where they need to go for their processing. and hopefully it's in the same city they live in, you know?
Mhm.
Sister, if you were in our government, what would you think would be our best immigrate? How would you change our immigration system? I mean, that's a really difficult question. But
Yes.
do you think, you have some ideas to guide us and what we would be looking for there? Like,
Well, I think we need to really truly want to find solutions, because I don't think that in the past many years every administration has not done anything about trying to establish work together. It's a bipartisan. It's not everybody needs to help out and establish, define, and without any self-interest, to really establish a fair, good pathway to understand who qualifies and why, and make that available so that people know. I think that finding fair, good responses, that people that are coming to work, that the majority of them can work in our country. We need workers, and facilitate that so that somebody who's here producing something good in our communities should not be deported just simply because of the fact that they entered the United States this way. They should be given an opportunity to define their purpose and define the means of how to make it happen so that they're here, and give them a chance, and be able to be an incentive to lead good lives, and that way those people are allowed to move forward, and if they're not, if they're criminals, because we have criminals everywhere, even here in our country, we can be able to deal with them correctly, and not allow them to enter the country, because I know our local border patrol is very good about identifying criminals and keeping them out, keeping them detained, and processed differently. I think we need to reinforce our borders in the sense that our agents need to continue doing the good work they do to keep our borders safe, and keep criminals and drugs and all the bad stuff from entering this country. They have a tough job. They're doing it. Let's continue to enforce that, but then also create that other pathway for families, people who are not criminals, people who are here running for their lives in search of protection and safety, that we can be able to identify that and deal with them separately and differently, not as a criminal, but as a human being who needs protection, and we can offer that. And so we need to develop that pathway, and not just lump them all together as criminals, because they're not.
thank you.
Um, are the U.S. Catholic bishops, the conference, do you get any help, or does anybody get any help with this whole problem? Not only financial, but advice and people working directly with them. Is there a program? Is there anything coming out of the bishops?
Yes, there is. There's an office, actually, office in it's called it is called for immigrants, it's an office for immigrant services, and they reach out. They try to educate the communities throughout the United States. They invite people from different dioceses to be able to be part of it, and they try to be able to be helpful in as far as what is available and what can be done in different areas. I think one of the things that the bishops of the United States can really help a lot by being that voice of God, the fact that they need to speak up when they see injustices. They need to be able to speak up as a voice of the church, helping our leaders to respond correctly as people of faith, people of God. And I think that we need to hear that more from our bishops, and not be afraid to use that voice of who they are and what they represent, and I don't hear that. I hear that some, but not enough.
Yeah.
No.
Is there any way that where can people like us who are not able to do very much send some financial help to you or to others who will put it to good use, as you do.
Thank you. I think that you can contact anyone that's trying to do that, that is trying to do good to help humanity. It's suffering like that we have. There's so many places. I'm definitely, to me, and yeah, I would definitely put every single cent to good use, because one thing that I'm trying to do is have the attorney that can be able to start a process for that, so they could have that work permit. And so it's expensive to keep those attorneys hired and making sure that during the work they need to do. But I'm sure that also other places from San Diego all the way to Texas, all are trying to do their very best, and it always need funds are necessary to do this, and so or even in some other areas in the United States where people already are, like New York and other big cities, and even in your own cities, you'll find that there's efforts to try to help these families. And funds are necessary, especially for the legal services, or for any kind of services that putting people up in housing, so that they're not out in the cold, and paying that rent. It's more than sure something you can always help with. If you identify a family that needs that, you can organize with other people in your community to come together and figure out a way to take responsibility for that, at least for one family. And so, but yes, that's a good thing, and I appreciate you wanting to help. So definitely reach out to somebody and put in your 2 grains of sand.
So could you send me some
Yes.
some information so that I can get it out to people here who might be willing to?
Tell me the number I need to call, or to send you the information. Or
Joanne
Sister, can you
Gomez.
put it in the chat for everyone?
my phone number?
Or can you put it in the chat, whatever address you use?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Joanne
Jo-
Gomez has your
Yes, she
Right.
does, definitely. And she's today is Sunday, so she doesn't work, but she will. Let me see if I can find the chat here.
Yeah, okay.
I'll put you my phone number, and then you can reach us here for chat. Okay. I'll put you my cell number first. 1484. And my email, or you NP at CDOB org. Okay, so there you have my email and my cell. So you can contact me there, and
Okay.
and I will if you contact me there and send me what it is that you want me to additional information you need from me, I will do that. Okay.
I will do that. Okay.
Sister, I don't know if you've heard, but the Maryknoll affiliates have opened a house there in El Paso called Bethany House.
Yes, I heard
And
that.
there's room for 6 people to stay who can help in any way. And I believe they've sent that out through all the Maryknoll affiliates in the US. We have a
Very
chapter here.
nice. Yes, the one thing that we're having problems here in Texas is our governor is after us. He wants to shut down all our good work that we're
Oh,
doing.
that's right.
Yeah.
And he has the attorney general after us, trying we went to court here locally, where he's asking for a deposition, which means that he wants to be able to find something that we're doing wrong, so that he can make a lawsuit, against us and shut us down. And so the local judge ruled in our favor, saying no. And so now he's appealed, and we're going to a higher court to see. He's fishing for fish. There's no fish in the pond, And so
Does anyone else have any questions of Sister Norma?
Yeah, Sister, you talked a bit about not so many people coming to your place now. So what's the impact on your community, your group there of
Well,
that?
the Border Patrol brings everybody that enters through this sector here. And sometimes even people that come from other entries, because most people are entering maybe through the area of San Diego, but in order to help those areas, they decompress and send them over here so that the local Border Patrol can process them here. And like I said, most of the people are being sent back home. Those that are allowed to enter, remain in the United States, are brought to us, and those that enter with an appointment, which is a larger number, maybe there might be more like 50 or 100 a day, those get to come to see our center as well, okay? And so we will continue to help families no matter how many number of them are entering and are allowed to remain, and that can change, either get worse or get better, or in the sense that the laws can be stricter or more difficult, depending who the administration is, and also, or the numbers can start to increase again. We've seen that happen throughout the 10 years that we've been, where numbers were high, and then when they dropped to very few people, and then they went back up again. And so we don't know. It depends a lot on the process that this country decides to pursue or continue. My hopes are, if we can truly develop a fair, just process, so that those families that are here in the United States searching for safety, fearing for their lives, have a chance to apply for that. And that's my hopes, that we can put more emphasis in helping our leaders work together and come up with fair, just processes that respond to those families that should not go back home and should be able to be given a chance to request asylum. That's my hope. And we can work towards educating our leaders, that are elected, and making them accountable to do the part that they were elected to do. This is something that they need to work in finding solutions, and they're not doing that. All out of fear that they want the political. It is more important to be elected rather than to do their jobs as leaders of our country.
Well, Sister Norma, you've made it perfectly clear to me that if I didn't know who I was going to vote for, I know who I'm not going to vote for, because that person's made it perfectly clear that they do not support immigrants,
That's right.
at all. So we've got to try our best to
Right.
persuade.
Both, I think one thing that we have a responsibility to, to decide to really seriously look at who we're voting, that will, for me, is the one thing that, as people of faith, is that our leaders need to respect life, right? And both parties and both people that are running for election, both in some way do not respect life, right? But which is the worst of them both? Is it before you're born, or is it after you're born? And so life altogether is important, and we must learn how to find solutions that address it. It's not like all or nothing. Life is complex, and issues are complex, and we need to not just simply say everybody's going to be sent back. Immigrants that are entering here, everybody's evil, everybody's bad, and we're shutting the door. Well, that's not the right answer. We have to respect the fact that not everybody falls into one way of looking at it. Not everybody qualifies for asylum, but there are some families that really need to be protected and be kept safe. Can we do that? And so, and the same thing would be with whether we believe that we should have an abortion or not. I think that in some cases we find that because of medical circumstances, there may be a need for doctors to proceed in different ways depending on the case. But for the most part, we must give life a chance, and that should not be an option that everybody has, whether they just because they want it. Don't give that life opportunity to come into this world, And so I think that it's not clear black and white either way, right?
Yeah.
Which one does more damage? Which one destroys life, more than the other? I think it's a tough decision to make, but sometimes, as you said, it's very clear when somebody is so much against people just simply because you don't like them,
Well, I don't know whether if you unmute yourselves, you'll have a big applause for Sister Norma for all that she does already and has done and is continuing to do. So we hope you can hear us as we applaud.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's may God be with you and your decisions to want to do good in this world, and may be carried to many others that can be inspired by you to also do good in this world today. Amen.
Thank you. And the
Thank
same to you.
you.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Adios.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Carrie.